All right. Good morning once again. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Godwin Agbamenya Jr. I'll be a facilitator for this practical section and also for the workshop. For this workshop, that is AI powered Babok stakeholder engagement and quality evaluation framework as well. So I'd like to thank the management of Transformation College for giving me this opportunity, for giving me the audience to speak to you also, to learn, for us to also get some knowledge or some insight on what exactly AI business analysis is and how we can incorporate it in our day to day activities with regards to our stakeholder engagement and also our quality evaluation framework. So over the next section, we are going to explore how we are going to combine both the traditional business analysis methods or techniques that we use and also the more advanced one, which is the AI one. So we are going to integrate it into our traditional methods that we use. So it's going to be a practical workshop syllabus for business analysis and AI tools trainers normally implement in our stakeholder engagement. So these are the main objectives for today. Our core focus is we applying what exactly Babok is and also incorporating it with our AI powered tools and automation skills. So this also is also designed. The target audience is also the our stakeholders, our trainers, and also our business analysts as well. So our learning outcomes will be basically we mastering what how we are able to identify this stakeholder relations, also permission management and organizational modeling and business case development as well. So these are basically what we are going to be looking at today. So by the end of this section, we are going to understand what exactly we can do with all these practicals that we know or all these AI tools that we have with respect to our stakeholder engagement. So we move on to our models. We have actually a three model or four models, I think. So the first model for today we are going to look into or delve into perfectly is the stakeholder list, maps and personas. So our first model is stakeholder list, maps, and personas. So we're going to ask ourselves, why does this really matter? It matters because stakeholders identification is absolute foundation for the success of our organization or of our business. So if you are able to identify the stakeholder needs or the stakeholder profile, we are able to go or we are able to understand how best we can reach our goal as an organization. So the normal traditional method is time consuming and it's draining. So you interview a lot of people, you give them documents to fill out, you give them questionnaires to do. No, that's a lot of work for us. So this time we are going to use AI to automate some persona generations and identify some hidden stakeholders in our organization. So we are going to also explore some mapping techniques that is going to help us visualize and also power dynamic and also communication channels that we can get things very done easily. So AI can dramatically improve both the speed and also the completeness of stakeholder identification. So in a nutshell, what we are trying to say is that we are going to discuss how we are going to meet our needs very quickly and in a very smart way. And we can do that with AI. So the first thing we are going to look at is let's talk about how we are going to build a comprehensive list. So a good stakeholder list captures a lot of things. So how do we come up with the list? We need to capture a couple of things in there. So the person's role, the person's name, their level of influence in the organization should be captured. So their level of interest in a particular project you are undertaking should also be captured. So the communication preference of the particular stakeholder should also be captured. So all these attributes, when they are being captured and we feed it into our AI tool, is going to give us some level of stakeholder profile. So it's going to give us what exactly this particular stakeholder is going to do for this particular project. That is the whole understanding or the whole idea for this particular stakeholder list mapping and personas. So, for example, you might use a prompt like analyze the project charter and also identify the stakeholder mentioned or implied. So, in here, we want to get a stakeholder charter. So a stakeholder charter is basically talking about what exactly, or the background or the persona of a particular stakeholder. What influence can this particular stakeholder bring on board with regards to the particular project you are undertaking? So when you prompt it that analyze the project charter in respect to the persona, in respect to the characteristics or the attributes of that particular stakeholder, it's going to pull up a whole chapter for you, and it's going to specify what exactly this particular stakeholder can do to help your project, and can also help make things very smooth for you in the organization. So the AI wouldn't basically find an obvious stakeholder. No, it's going to use the pattern that you have given it, or the prompt you've given it, to recognize a particular fit for that particular project. So you can have a couple of stakeholders in your industry. It could be the IT, it could be the manufacturing, it could be any industry you find yourself in. When you are able to identify the stakeholder, and you are able to come up with the key attributes of the stakeholder, and you feed it in for that particular charter, it's going to pull up what exactly the stakeholder can do to help that project. That's the basic idea of this whole thing. So AI is going to help you for the whole stress of finding it manually, traditional method. No, you just give it the prompt with the attributes, and you're good to go. So that's what this particular basically means. And also, we move on to the next. That's we creating effective personas. So we have ways to which we can create this effective personas for our business. So we have the effective stakeholders, we have the technical teams, we have the end users. So within this creation, we need to take all these people into consideration, and we need to understand exactly what they are going to bring on board to enhance that particular project we are undertaking. So now let's talk about these personas. People help us understand different stakeholder groups and what they care about. So we have the first group, which is the executive stakeholders. They are the high level decision makers. They think high, and their focus is mainly strategic alignment and profit, return on investment. So their goal is just to make profit, and also strategically align whatever they do with the business, whatever we are going to do with their business. So they care about more strategic alignment and return on investment. When you present to the executives, they keep on asking you what will it benefit them? What will be the end goal? So AI is going to help us identify these pain points and prioritize through document analysis. So AI, when we give it this executive stakeholder decision making, it is going to help us get the end goal, what exactly we can get from it. So in the course of our prompting, we have to make it suit what exactly we are doing. So we move on to the next group, which is the technical teams. So they are implementation focused stakeholders. So theirs is just making sure the thing is visible, integrating a lot of systems, automating personas, and generating system usage patterns. So whatever tasks they've been given, they make it visible. They integrate it. They make it live. They make it work for the organization. So you give them a draft or a charter or one exactly, or a project scale or a skeleton, and they make it in real life. So that's the other group as well. So we move on to the next group, which is the end users. That's our customers, our vendors, people we deal with in day-to-day activities. So they are the direct beneficiaries of solutions who prioritize usability and functionality. Sorry. So AI here is going to help us analyze the user feedbacks and behavior to create accurate personas. So AI is going to give us an idea. Can we actually use this? Can this really be effective for end users? Because that's the goal. So AI is going to analyze the feedback. It's going to also help us support tickets, behavior, and data, and all those stuff. It's going to bring everything together and give us a very consolidated document, or maybe a way of life that is going to suit the end users. So these are basically what creating effective persona really means. So we have the executive stakeholders, like I said earlier. We have the technical teams who put the thing into action, and also the end users, the direct beneficiaries of the entire project or the entire stakeholder relations that we we have as an organization. So that's it for this particular model. So we move on to the next model, which is roles and permission metrics. So on the left hand side, we see a diagram illustrating some categories, some decaries, and some other things, statuses, and all that, roles and responsibilities, and what have you. So we have a metrics. Whenever we hear something like a metrics, it's just basically telling us that things shouldn't be conflicting with each other. We should have distinctions in everything. So we create an effective roles and permission metrics to help achieve this goal that we've set our minds on. So that is we moving. So for this particular metrics, there are key things we need to understand. So the first thing is the whole understanding. That is we mastering the creation and maintenance of RACI matrix. So RACI basically means the responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed parties. In the next slide, I'm going to explain what it does specifically. So we are going to use AI to analyze historical project data to use also to suggest optimal role assignment based on your skills, availability, and past performance. So we don't just give out any rules in the project management or stakeholder engagement at all. We are going to give you roles based on your availability, your skills, and also your past performances. So that is where we identify. So we have some three steps we need to take. We are also the first one is identify stakeholder roles, assign the RACI codes, and also validate and refine. So if we are doing the assignment or the identification of the stakeholder roles, this is what comes in play. So we need to have the catalog of all potential stakeholder positions and responsibilities. So all the stakeholders that are visible, that are workable, or that are very open to our organization or our project, we need to have a catalog of all of them and their potential positions and responsibilities. That's the first thing. Then we assign them with respect to their availability and also their performance, past performance, and also their skills. So that's where the responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed comes in play. Then we move on to the validate and refine. You use AI to detect conflict of interest and also suggest optimization. So we put in all these charters and all these models into the AI tool. So we can use a tool like a Gemini or a Claude or ChatGPT, anyone which is comfortable for your organization. You put in all these categories in there, all the catalog of all the stakeholders in there. Then you move on to assign the roles. It automatically assigns the rules for you and also detects any form of conflict and also suggests optimization. That's how simple it's going to make the whole work for you. So now let's move on to understanding what exactly the RASI components are. So we have the responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So responsible is basic. This is where people actually perform the tasks. So whatever tasks they've been given, this is where they actually perform. So for example, developers are responsible for writing codes. So the developers, what are they responsible for? Writing codes. Business analysts, responsible for creating requirements for the organization. So that's how basic it is. So we move on to the accountable. So this is when one person who approves the work has an ultimate ownership. So each task should have exactly one accountable party to avoid confusion. So each task that you are going to undertake, you need to have somebody who is accountable for it. You go on to, and he's the owner of that particular task, so that you don't get any conflict of interest. So the C is for the consulted. This is where people put in some sort of decision making. So it's going to be a two-way communication to ensure that their expertise informs the outcomes. So, for example, we can say you might consult the legal team on compliance matters. You can consult the HR on employee relations, with regards anything regarding your benefits, your incentives, and all that. You can speak to your HR. Anything regarding legal, you talk to your compliance team, and and so on and so forth. And also we have the informed. So this is where the individuals are kept up to date on the progress and decisions. So this is actually a one way. So they ensure awareness without requiring input. So these are for the top level managers and all that. So they are informed on what exactly happens in our day-to-day activities with regards to the projects that we are undertaking, or maybe the stakeholder engagements that we are having as well. So we move on to the third model. So the third model is organizational modeling. So this is where we visualize organizational structures. We also develop a comprehensive organizational models that reveal reporting lines, decision making authority, communication pathways, and AI powered analysis. So in here, there are there are ways by which we can actually understand what it is. So I'm going to go back to the RASI metrics and use this modeling to incorporate it in a way. So over here we got a couple where we have the responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So yeah, so the organizational structure is going to help us visualize whatever we have done over here. So with regards to the the responsible parting. So whoever is responsible is going to visualize it and make us get more understanding on exactly what we have. And whoever is accountable is also going to give us a visual understanding of how best the person can incorporate the person's skills into achieving the goal. And whoever is going to also be consulted, whether it's a two-way, it's basically a two-way. So they are going to come up with a visual understanding and also a comprehensive way of doing things. And whoever is informed as well, the way of communicating is going to be also very user friendly for the person as well. So we have a couple of types of organizational models. We have the hierarchical models, matrix model, and network models. So with the hierarchical models, this is where the traditional top-down structures showing the reporting relationships and authority levels. So this is where the CEO is on top. We have a couple of things as well. We have the vice president, we have the directors, we have the managers. So AI can actually analyze all these structures and also identify the deviations in there and places where the actual communication patterns don't really match. So AI is going to conceptualize and also analyze what exactly is there. It's going to put in some deviations in there and also things that needs to be improved. It's going to help us get it. And also the second part is the metrics models. So this shows where a complex structure with dual reporting lines is. So wherever we get a complex structure and also a dual reporting lines, AI is going to help us clear all those conflicting rules and also that restores constraint. So AI might flag that someone is over reallocated or over allocated across different groups or different projects. So if an individual is responsible or maybe is is being consulted, let's use responsible for now. If an individual is being responsible for a couple of tasks, maybe two or three, AI is going to flag it because we need to have this matrix model in place, which is going to help us distinct each and individual's role from each other. So we don't have anybody conflicting. So the main goal is just accountability. Yes, so we need to be accountable for whatever we are doing. So if one person is doing the testing, doing the development, doing um, the deployment, everything, who is going to be accountable? How will the person be checked? So that is the main goal for this RASI metrics. So we also have the network models. So this emphasizes on collaboration over the hierarchy. So AI is going to map all the informal networks and identify key influencers beyond the formal authority. So this might actually reveal the mid-level engineer is actually a crucial connector between both dependencies or both departments. So it's going to make it distinct and also going to decentralize all the structures and helping it have a very, very smooth model. So that's what the types of organizational models actually mean. So we move on to the next model, which is the fourth model. That's business case. So when we are developing a compelling business case, we need to secure a strategic buy-in and funding approval. So the business case is just we getting an idea or a brief or a broader idea of what in a larger scale we are going to achieve. So that is basically it. So we have the problem definition. So this is where AI comes in place. We use AI to analyze the stakeholder inputs to quantify business problems and opportunity cost. So this is where we are going to do a couple of surveys, a couple of meeting notes. So we feed in AI with all these surveys, all these meeting notes for us to get a response. So the response was going to help us quantify the business problems that will come up and also the opportunity cost, stuff that we can get in return. So the second way of achieving this business case is also using cost benefit analysis. So there are actually three things here that we are going to look at briefly. So this is where we have the modeling projects like the return on investment, payback periods, and also we have break even points. So with the return on investment, this is where we make profit. That's basically it. And then the payback period, the moment or the
Good morning, Mr. Godwin. Please, I can't see your screen again and you are not audible as well. Please take notes.
So am I audible now? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm audible now. Okay, let me reshare my screen again. Please confirm if you can see my screen now.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Sorry for that. All right. So we have the key elements in factoring in or getting hold of the metrics and the key performance indicators. So we have the accuracy metrics, we have the efficiency KPIs, we have user satisfaction, and also reliability indicators. So with the accuracy metrics, this is where precision comes in play. So everything we do has to be precise. So we recall all the actual stakeholders and how many did AI find. So all that we do, we need to be accurate about it. We need to be precise. So whatever key indicators that we want to put in place, it has to be smart. It has to be accurate enough for us to get the exact results we want. So we move on to the next one, which is the efficiency KPIs. So this is where we process time, throughput rates, and also resource utilization. So whatever we have in-house, we make it smart, we utilize it on a timely basis and also expect smart rates from it. And also we have user satisfaction. So our feedbacks that we get from our outsiders, our clients, our vendors, and all that, we also put them in place for us to get a very smart key performance indicators as well. And also we have reliability indicators. This is where we put in percentages, error rates, and system stability metrics. So whatever key performance that or whatever KPIs we are putting in place, we need to make sure that there is some level of percentage. That is where we are going to measure the accuracy of what we are doing. So we managing whatever we have and also making sure it is accurate enough and also having zero error rate and also it's aligning with the system stability metrics as well. So after we're done with this, we need to still go ahead with our vendors. So we need to understand what the vendor is looking for, what the vendor is expecting, and how best we can make it up to the vendors. Because we want to have an engagement with them. We want to make them satisfied enough. We want to have them in our space all the time. So we need to do some review and assessment in here. So in the reviews, we have some steps that we need to undertake and do it very, very well. So we have the first stage, which is the initial screening. So we are going to evaluate the vendor capabilities against the core requirements and technical specifications. So we pick a vendor that we want to onboard or that we want to have some level of evaluation. That is, we incorporating AI in there. So we need to understand what the vendor is looking out for and what we are also looking out for in the first instance. So we are going to evaluate the vendor capabilities against our core requirements. So this is a quick elimination round. So we are going to do some quick elimination. If they don't meet up with our standards or our requirements, we take them out. It's as simple as that. If they meet up, we keep them in and we work with them. Then we move on to the next. That is where we do a detailed assessment. So where we do a detailed assessment, we are going to understand what exactly the approach is going to be like, the support services we are going to need, then the integration capabilities that we are going to work with. So it is more detailed. So we move on to the next after that, then we work with the reference check. So this is where we do validation. So we go validate whatever the client has said from previous clients or maybe case study reviews that we have done. So This is where we are going to do some level of assessment and also going to know whether it's going to be a success or not. So we ask ourselves, did they have challenges with their previous clients, vendors? How were they able to go about it? What was wrong? What is the time period or the time frame that they used to rectify that particular short put or shortfalls that they had, or those gaps that they had during the engagement with that particular client. So we put all this together, then we are good to go with the reference checks. Then we come up with a final decision. This is where we are going to compare all the shortlisted vendors with regards to the initial screening, the detailed assessment, the validation, and all that. Then we make a final decision. So if it aligns with our strategic objectives, then we are good to go with them. So we can go through all these steps and still not make a final decision. We can also take the person out from the initial stage. We can also start doing detailed assessment, and we might not get all the supporting utilities or all the supporting services or maybe the approaches that we are going to incorporate. It doesn't make sense to us, then we just take them out. We can also get to the reference checks. We do a couple of references, we do a couple of case study reviews, and it still doesn't match up with whatever we want as an organization. Then we take them off. So any stage in time, you can just have a fall off with the vendor. It is very, very acceptable because the more you go ahead, the more resources you are putting in and the more time you are wasting. So when you realize the person doesn't check your boxes at some point, you can either go back to review and work with the person or work around it, or you can just cut it and go ahead with the next person just to save time and also your resources that you have involved. So we move on to the next model, that is the decision making or decision modeling framework. So with all this that we are talking about, we still have AI incorporated in all of them. We have AI here, AI there, and all that. So in our decision making modeling framework, we see we have on the right hand side there is a diagram which is showing some movements up there. All right, so we have, it's not actually specified. So the whole idea in there is nobody distinctly makes decisions without consulting. So we have a structured decision making way that we can employ and also use AI in there. So we can employ a systematic approach to help us select optimal solutions for AI implementations. So we have the core methodologies that we need to put in place: cost benefit analysis, like I said earlier, our return on investment, our breakpoints, and all that. We need to factor all of that in our decision making to get on board an AI system for us. So we have the multiple or multi criteria decision analysis. Does it serve as that purpose? If it does, we are good to go. Decision trees and probability mapping. So this is where we have who is responsible. That's where the RASI comes in a way. So the decision trees and the probability mapping, we map them to who exactly is going to have this in place. And also, we have the scenario planning and risk management. So, whatever we are going to put on board, we need to factor in the risk assessment as well. Is it going to help the organization? Is it going to pose any form of risk? Whenever it poses the risk, are we able to cater for it? Can we accept the risk? Can we avoid it? Can we transfer it? All this we need to factor it in when you are making this kind of decision in our organization. So we also have the scope modeling process as well. So we understand that scope is just basically defining the boundaries for our deliverables. So projects define project boundaries and deliverables to ensure focused implementation and measurable outcomes. So first, we have the gathering of requirements. We have the boundary definition and deliverable mapping as well. You have the validation and approval as well. So the scope definition is very, very key in our process as well. So we have the requirement gathering. This is where we are going to collaborate all the stakeholders to identify business needs and technical requirements. So the second is also defining the scope or the boundary. So this is where we establish a clear in scope and out of scope. This is going to help us prevent any project creeps. So we don't go out of board. We are in line. We don't go above our threshold in a way. So we work within our limits. This is very, very important as well. So deliverable mapping. So this is where we are going to document whatever we have done and also the features, the functionalities, and the deliverables in there. So the most important thing we need to understand here is we being clear about it. So validation and approval. This is where the top management and the stakeholders sign off on scope definition before the implementation begins. So this is just a brief overview. So now we are going to understand that whatever we have done here is just the normal traditional way. So in here, what we're going to do, or what is going to help us, we are going to do to help us or make all this very, very simple for us is just incorporating our AI in it. So this is why we're going to give it prompts like we are having a project based on this requirement of our organization. So we are going to specify, we have to specify our organizational requirement and whatever requirement this particular project is up. When we feed into when we feed it into the AI tool, it's definitely going to give us a scope. It's going to give us all these requirements gathering, all this boundary definition, all this deliverable mapping and validation and approval, who is even supposed to approve it before it goes ahead into real life. So that's what we basically mean by scope modeling process. So it is actually very, very important. So we have a roadmap. So in a nutshell, whatever we're doing here, over here, yes, from here, here, and over here, we are going to have it consolidated over here. So I'm going to explain what we are going to do from the week 1 to the week 8. So this is a structural overview of how to make decisions and also implement something within the organization. So we are going to define. So for the first week, it's actually an 8-week period. So here's an 8-week implementation timeline we can adapt as an organization. So week 1 to week 2 is for planning. So this is where you're going to define the criteria, establish matrices, and identify evaluation method. So over here, over here, for the first week and then the second week, we need to be planned. We need to plan whatever we are going to have. So we need to have an idea of even what is going to happen in the last week, which is the 8th week. So we are going to define the criteria. What is involved? What is not involved? We establish the matrices. Who is responsible? Who is not responsible? Then we identify the evaluation methods that we are going to use. So we don't need to rush at all over here. We need to take our time and do it very, very well. So with a week 3 and then a week 4, that's where we review the vendors. That's where we do our assessments, we put them in place, we check their references and all that. Then we conduct our technical evaluation and shortlist options. That's where we do the assessment, then the approval comes in. Then we do the modeling, the decision making modeling, the modeling that we spoke about over here, scope modeling process, decision making modeling, and all that. So we put them in the week 5 and the week 6 over here. That is where we are going to build the models, we validate the scope, and also we finalize the selection criteria. So the first week, plan. Second, assess. So let me just move up quickly. So first week, we do this planning, the criteria, acceptance criteria, and everything. Then we put in the matrices in there for the first week. Then the assessment, which is the week 3 and week 4. This is where we put the initial screening, detailed assessment, the reference checks and all that. Then we make our final decision over there. Then we move into the modeling part. That's where the decision making. This is the week 4 and 5. Sorry, the week 5 and 6. Sorry. So that is where we do this decision modeling. Then we do our scope modeling as well in the 5 and 6. So we put all this structured decision making and cost benefit analysis in place for us to achieve whatever we are achieving. Then we put in the scope modeling as well, where we put in the gathering, requirements gathering, the boundary definition, the deliverable mapping, and all that we put in the week 5 and then week 6. Then we come back to the final part, which is the 7 and 8. That's where we make the final vendor selection and approve implementation scope. That is over here, validation and approval. Then we are good to go. So this is how we're going to do our roadmap for our implementation process. So this is a typical project management roadmap that we can incorporate in our organization. We can use so that it makes our work simpler for us. So after all these things that we are doing, we need to still understand that we need to align ourselves with a particular thing. So we can't just go overboard. So that is where best practice for quality evaluation comes in. Because whatever we are doing, it still needs to be it still needs to be shared, or it needs to be understood very well, or we need to align ourselves with a particular best practice. We can't just do things overboard. So the first best practice that we need to incorporate, or we need to understand, or we need to be clear on, is establish clear baselines. So we need to define minimum acceptable standards before evaluation begins. So you need to know what our minimum acceptable standards are. Stuff that we can take in, stuff that we can accept, stuff that we know that, or standards that we know that we can accept within our organization in case of any disruptions or any faults. We know that this we can accept, this we cannot. So we need to involve multiple stakeholders. We need to gather diverse perspective and catch. We need to catch them on the blind side as well. Also, we need to document everything. So all these processes that we are partaking, we are doing and incorporating in our business and all that, we need to document it so that whenever we are not there anymore, whoever comes in can just pick up the manual and know that, oh, this is a process we do. This is who can be responsible for this. This is the decision modeling that we use. This is the vendor assessment or AI assessment that we use. This is the scope modeling that we use for our business, and how we have incorporated AI in it. So it is very, very important. And we need to review it regularly. So we need to reassess the criteria as the business needs and technology evolve. So technology is definitely evolving and everything is coming in place. We're having new technologies day in and day out. So we need to understand what exactly is happening at this moment. So we need to review that particular modeling or that process that we have documented regularly as well. So all these that we are doing, there's definitely pitfalls and also there are definitely shortcomings and gaps that we need to identify and also understand. So we just don't wake up and do this and we don't expect to have some pitfalls or gaps or some challenges basically. So we have a couple of challenges. There are lots actually. So these are just the four major ones I wanted to point out that we can work on, that we can understand, that we can also work around that particular pitfall. So we have the vague criteria. So this is where we have an clear standard lead to subjective assessment and inconsistent decisions. So when we are trying to understand over here, our criteria is over here. So when we are here and we don't have anything, we are not clear enough, it's a pitfall. So acceptance and evaluation criteria is very, very important. First thing first, we need to understand what is happening. We need to align it with our business organization's needs. So if we don't understand our criteria or we don't understand the business needs, we are lacking. Everything we do next, any AI incorporation we do next will be just a waste of time. So that is the first one we have. That's when it's vague. And also the next one is when we overlook integration. So failing to assess how AI systems work in existing infrastructure and workflows. So when we don't really understand what the AI systems we are looking for really will do for this particular existing system or infrastructure we have. So we still need to have the integration understanding. So how we are going to integrate AI and what benefit is going to give us and how seamlessly we can integrate it into our infrastructure we have currently. And also, we have ignoring scalability. This is where we don't evaluate whether the solutions can go with the organizational needs. So we just don't understand the long term benefits of it. We're just looking at how we're going to work with it just as and when, just within the short period of time. No. So we move as to the next one, which is short term focus. We need to think ahead and also have a clear overview of what we can do. So we don't just settle for the purchase price. We factor in training as well. We are factoring in maintenance, we factor in support and all that, so that in a long term overview, we can see that, oh, this is going to help us. But if we don't incorporate all this in the process that we do, we are going to be lacking. So this brings me to the last slide for my session today, where is going to talk about our key takeaways. So what we have learned today and what we shouldn't forget, even if you are going to forget everything. These three stuff should be stuff we shouldn't forget at all. So first thing is clear criteria drive success. So the most important thing is that we need to understand what we are doing and we need to align it with our business objectives and needs. So when we don't have a clear understanding or a clear criteria, we can't be successful. That is the truth. So clear criteria drives success. So we'll be successful if and only we are clear on our criteria. That is the basic understanding. So if you are not clear on our criteria, we are going to be lacking. So we have to make, and the next one is metrics enable accountability. So what is where we put our KPIs? We measure whatever we do. We give distinct roles. So KPIs provide objective, measurable, and performance and progress as well. And also we have the structured evaluation matters. So this is where we strategically put things in alignment. So systematic vendor assessment and decision modeling reduce risks. So when we strategically do our vendor assessment over here, this particular one, if we take care of this accurately, we do the initial screening, detailed assessment, reference checks, and all that, we are good to go. We understand what exactly we are doing as an organization. So we don't lack. So we have a structured evaluation matters. We are good to go. We are good to go as an organization. So thank you for having me for this section.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Godwin. Hello. Hello, Mr. Godwin.
Yeah, hello. Yeah,
Thank you so much for today's class. Really appreciate for imparting knowledge into us. And important notice for the students who are yet to pay their registration fees, which is 10,000. Please remember to pay so as to have smooth academic activities, including access to lectures and examination. Also, the recording link will be sent to the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much, Mr.
thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. Have a happy Easter as well.
And you too, sir.
All right. Thank you.